Hi, everyone, and welcome to episode 86 of Halfway Through the Heat, the world's most important, most prolific, most proficient Trans-Pacific Wrestling podcast, now in revamped form, in which we're doing deep dives, long looks, and comprehensive takes at some of wrestling's most memorable and greatest events. Yeah, that's right, I said it.
You said it, but you were wrong.
I did. I said it, but I was wrong. This week, we are looking at Summerslam 2007. We're taking you all the way back to the late 2000s. George Bush was president. Young Marlon Wayans was teaching us how to laugh.
No, wait, what?
I don't know. I can't remember what was popular in 2007. It doesn't seem like that long ago, but it was 10 years ago. This is a suggestion by Nick Nack on YouTube. Thank you, Nick Nack. We went back and we watched SummerSlam 2007. We're going to talk about SummerSlam 2007, which was the first pay-per-view that Nick Nack ever bought, and he wanted to see what our thoughts were on it. I will say that I did not. This was an era when I was not paying a lot of close attention to wrestling. I would sort of occasionally watch stuff on TV if I was flipping through the channels and wrestling was on. But I absolutely was not paying all that much attention to it. And so I was kind of excited to go back to this era and see what it was like, because it's kind of a big blank spot for me.
Yeah, same with me, because 2007 is like when I had moved to Japan and hadn't been doing much, and and there was no way for me to watch wrestling. So I was actually all the wrestling I was doing involved playing a wrestling card game in an arcade for Pro Wrestling Noah.
Wow.
That's about it. I've got a bunch of those cards I found recently too. It's this weird kind of thing where you stick cards in a machine and it reads the card and does the move on the card, or sends out the wrestler you have on the card. It's a pretty fun game. Played it all the time.
And Pro Wrestling Noah had their own game.
Yeah, Pro Wrestling Noah was big deal in 2007.
Yeah, they kind of fell off in a hurry.
They sure did.
Well, anyway, so the year is 2007. George W. Bush is president, although not for much longer. And we are in beautiful New Jersey, East Rutherford, New Jersey, at the Continental Airlines Arena. The date is August the 26th. Announced attendance 17,441. Our theme song is provided by Cat DeLuna with Elephant Man, and it's called Wine Up. No idea.
I don't know. I think I know all of those words, but not in that order. Doesn't make any sense to me.
The event apparently was a success. Grossed over $1 million in ticket sales. Tickets sold out in 40 minutes when they went on sale in late December. And they received 537,000 pay-per-view buys. This was back in the era, wasn't that long ago, but back in the era when pay-per-view was a major source of revenue. So without further ado, let's get right into it. Let's start talking about this event, SummerSlam 2007, the good, the bad, and the Khali.
All right, so we've got... this started out with the standard stuff. There's a hype package.
There's a hype package.
I was not hyped by the hype package. I can say that.
There are 3 commentary teams, because this is back when not only was there the Raw SmackDown, the first Raw SmackDown brand split, but ECW was on the Sci-Fi Network, and they were trying to make that a separate brand.
Yeah.
So our commentary teams are Jim Ross and Jerry Lawler for Raw, Michael Cole and JBL for SmackDown, and Joey Styles and Taz for ECW.
That was. I have little notes. Announcers are Michael Cole and JBL. Jerry Lawler and Jim Ross. Yay. And Taz and Joey Styles. Exclamation point.
Yeah. There also was, I guess the tagline for the show was "The party's over," but one thing that they started real early, and I made this note repeatedly, every time they would say SummerSlam, they would immediately whoever was saying SummerSlam, whether it was a promo or a commentator, they immediately would follow by saying the biggest party of the summer.
The biggest party of the summer is a phrase that you will hear at least 4 million times during this pay-per-view. It almost gets to the point where it's like a bizarre cult mantra, like when when people say the name of the the glorious mugwump or whatever.
Yeah,
They all have to
yeah.
say this kind of phrase afterwards. Here, you know, in the case where like anytime anyone said SummerSlam, it had to immediately be followed up by the biggest party of the
The
summer.
biggest part of the summer. It really it's like it's jarring, and like and once you start noticing it, it's actually recently on 205 Live, they've decided that TJ Perkins is no longer TJ Perkins. He's going to be TJP. And like they said TJP so many times, it was like I was flinching every day. It was like this. It became this weird verbal tick, and after a while, it became incredibly annoying. That's what SummerSlam, the biggest party of the summer, became. Like it's so unnatural and so shoehorned in, and you can just hear Vince screaming it in their headsets, like it's say the biggest party of the summer. Damn it!
Yeah, Vince McMahon was all over this show, like in
There's a lot of
person,
Vince in
doing
the show.
doing stuff that was not entertaining. By the way, he was in it though.
A lot
Um,
of Vince going on.
Man,
But anyway, so that's our commentary teams. That's the hype package. The set, they've started to put a lot more money into the sets for SummerSlam, because the set here, it's like they went to iParty and got like the tropical luau theme, a bunch of like
I was thinking that flashback to our talking about the Halloween Havoc, and I was like, well, this is basically the SummerSlam version of that Halloween Havoc set. It's got palm trees and grass like huts.
yeah, and like tiki torches, and it's super cheesy. I mean,
Yeah,
it looks like a fraternity party with a Hawaiian theme.
basically that's basically what it was. I kept thinking every time they would show the wrestler entrances, I'd be like, why are there fake palm trees here? This is New Jersey.
Yeah, right. Yeah, they're in East Rutherford, beautiful East Rutherford, New Jersey. Um, but yeah, the set is it's distractingly cheesy. But you know what? It's kind of charming for all that, I guess. It's certainly something to notice. Um, our first match, and so some of this, honestly, like not having watched any of the TV leading up to this, I appreciated the WWE habit of like commentary drilling the previous storyline into the ground, because I didn't know what was going on.
Yeah, that was helpful, but in this case, the storyline was somebody spilled coffee on somebody else and now they're fighting. It's like, okay.
It's pretty bad. This is Kane without his mask. He's not corporate Kane. He's just no mask Kane, and he is wrestling Fit Finlay. And I love Fit Finlay. Absolutely one of my favorite wrestlers of all time. Um, but this was not the best showcase for him. This was um, uh, well, first of all, I'll note that Fit Finlay comes out, and he back then he had like they had given him a full on like Irish guy gimmick with like shamrocks
And a
and
shillelagh.
like yeah, he had a shillelagh, and uh the interesting thing for me is, of course, Fit Finlay he is from Ireland. He's from Belfast, but he's from the community in Northern Ireland that identifies as British. That's often called the Protestant community. And so it's funny that like whenever he's out, he's like stuck with being just like he might as well be Darby O'Gill. Um, and
Well,
also
I mean, he might
early
as
on,
well have been Darby O'Gill because he has his own little people. I
he
mean,
does. So as well, yeah. In that match, it becomes important as little people. And Michael Cole at one point says, "Northern Ireland is among the more than 40 countries watching." It's not its own country. It's politically part of Great Britain, and there's actually a lot of controversy over that. But Michael Cole grants independence to Northern Ireland during the match, which is exciting. So anyway, and JBL makes a joke about Irish people drinking too much. It's 2007. The
mm,
match is basically a lengthy squash.
yeah, it wasn't horrible, but like there were okay. At this point, like I'm not sure why Fit Finlay is in WWE, and I'm not saying this because I think Fit Finlay is bad at all. I think like he was the best part of the match, but like it seems weird that he's there in 2007.
Yes.
Like, um, it's just it seems like he just doesn't fit. Like he's a weird anachronism that has shown up. Like, like if suddenly Bob Backlund is back wrestling again.
Yeah, right. Yeah. He's
And
still in WWE. I should point out he's still there, but he's a backstage agent.
yeah, but in 2007, he's still wrestling on the pay-per-view, and I thought like, I mean, good for him, I guess, but like, it seems like so out of place, especially considering everybody else on the card. It's
Yeah,
just
it is
really
weird.
weird,
It is
and
weird to see
like,
Fit Finley.
and it's not, again, it's not because he's bad, or even that he wrestles like he's too old, because he looks old, but like he's still wrestling fine,
He's
and
fine.
but like, it's just seems out of place.
It's not a great match. Also, it's basically Kane beating the hell out of him, and then there's like a lot of wackiness where Swoggle, who is dressed as a leprechaun, and who will actually play the murderous leprechaun in the reboot of the series Leprechaun Origins in a few years.
They couldn't afford that Warwick Davis money anymore, so they had to get
Couldn't afford
Swoggle.
that Warwick Davis money. By the way, if you see Leprechaun Origins, it's, you know what? Brace yourself for this take. It's not terrible. It's
I,
not good.
that's the only Leprechaun movie I haven't seen, but
It's
I imagine that, I mean, it's a Leprechaun movie. How could they screw it up? Unless they like tried to make it serious. Like
I mean, it's bad, but like one thing
they're
they
all
did that I like,
bad though. I mean,
they're all bad, right? No. It's I like that they like went back to the idea that like, which is true, like in folklore and stuff, like leprechauns are not like these cheerful little creatures. They're actually sort of monsters, and that's sort of, it explores that history a little bit, which I appreciate. Anyway, so Swoggle is the cruiserweight champion at this point in 2007, and he's dressed as the Lucky Charms man. And he comes out, and
yes, basically, yeah.
ref is constantly distracted. There are multiple shillelagh spots. Like Fit Finley loses a shillelagh, gets another shillelagh. A lot of shillelagh action going on. I don't even know who won. Who won?
Kane won with a choke
Kane.
slam. But like the thing with it is like this was they wrestled this match like it was like a really classic kind of style in the sense that like heel Finley is constantly going after the injured ribs of Kane with like illegal moves and things. And like there's a lot of kind of Fit Finley style kind of wrestling holds and things, and I thought like, you know, that was all right. That kind of stuff was kind of good, and like to make it more classic style, Michael Cole is constantly outraged at Finley's blatant cheating.
It's
So
true.
I mean, in a ridiculous way, like 1984 Vince McMahon on the commentary, like
Very upset.
he's very upset, and you know, so basically the whole match is them hyping that like, oh no, Kane has had his ribs injured by a shillelagh shot earlier in the week or whatever, and he's all taped up and stuff. So like all of Finley's moves are like attacks to the ribs and whatever. Um, but this, you know, it ends up not being all that great of a match in the sense that like Kane is there, but also you know, it's just like too much wackiness. Leprechaun Hornswoggle comes out and you know, like does nothing really. Just kind of runs in the ring, gets tossed out, runs around the ring, throws a shillelagh to Fit Finley. That's about it.
Lot of wackiness. Too much wackiness.
Yeah,
Um,
and you know, Fit Finley does get the illegal shillelagh shot, but it's not enough to take out the Big Red Machine, who gets up and chokeslams Fit Finley for the win. And yeah, this was a great way to start the show. It set the
we,
theme.
we, weird choice for an opener. There was a dark match, which is not on the network. It was like a cruiserweight kind of tag match, which is probably more high energy. This is not high energy.
Yeah, the crowd was not into this either. The crowd like was not into anything until like partway through the show. So like eventually you'll get to a point where the crowd you can like actually hear the crowd doing stuff, but like it's not until about the third match, which is
Yeah.
understandable because the next match is, you know, it happened full of.
Before we get to the
But
next
before we
match,
get to
though,
that, yeah, we have to talk about the biggest party of the summer.
Summerslam, the biggest party of the summer. We go backstage at SummerSlam, the biggest party of the summer, and Jonathan Coachman is still a WWE employee. There's a few other guys backstage. Vince McMahon is backstage, and there's some ongoing story that he has apparently fathered an illegitimate child, and he is worried that the alleged mother of this illegitimate child is going to show up at the paper at SummerSlam, the biggest party of the summer.
Yes, but also I want to point out that there's four guys in this room, and Steven Regal and Jonathan Coachman and Teddy Long and somebody else I can't remember. Um, but they're there and they have printed out on the wall the biggest party of the summer.
Yeah.
Um, and Vince McMahon is there. He comes in and he's like, "How could this be the biggest party of the summer if there's only four dudes in this room? We need women here." And then um, Santino Marella, I think, and MVP show up, and nobody cares. No reaction from the crowd.
No, the crowd doesn't know what's going on.
And I had a reaction to this. I was like, "What the fuck is MVP doing on TV?" Um, and he is apparently the U.S. champion. This is a weird time for WWE in that MVP was there and he was a champion of some kind.
This was a weird time for WWE. Uh, it was interesting to me just to see that for me because I remembered the Attitude Era pretty well, and then seeing sort of like these newer guys, it was all quite something. Speaking of title matches, we go from that backstage tomfoolery to the next match, which is a three-way for the Intercontinental Championship, which is held by Umaga. And we got ourselves Mr. Kennedy versus Carlito,
Oh,
who is introduced by Lillian Garcia as being from the Caribbean, as if he emerged from the water.
I have a note on that too, where it's like, why is he announced as being from the Caribbean? That doesn't make any sense.
I mean, yeah, narrow it down, Lillian. Um, and they come out and this is when I made my first note. Why do they keep saying SummerSlam the biggest party of the summer? And it will just go on. It'll be like 50,000 more times when they say it. You know, this match was pretty boring to me until Umaga came in and just started throwing dudes around.
Yeah, I had not seen Umaga previously, but he was like high energy, way more high energy
Yes.
than I expected. So like, he comes out and you're thinking like, is this like another Rikishi? He's just gonna like be annoying. But actually, he was like kind of fast paced, fast paced tossing people around. So it wasn't like he was like a big slow fat guy. He was a big fast fat guy, and it was kind of interesting to watch him. Um,
This made me really want to check out more Umaga.
yeah, it kind of did actually. I watched it and I thought like, um, this was all right. Not that the match was all right because it was not, but Umaga
No.
was like pretty good in this. I thought like Mr. Kennedy came out and introduced himself in the ring, like a boxing match or something, and like there's like almost no reaction from the crowd. There's like four people saying it along with him. And then Carlito comes out and there's like no reaction. It's just like
No.
nobody cares at all. And then Umaga comes out and he's the Intercontinental Champion. Still nobody seems to care. The crowd doesn't have like much of a reaction to any of these guys. Um, and then like the match is basically just Umaga destroying these guys. Like they had no offense in the beginning until like there's like a cheap shot and then like they double team Umaga. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I have a note though. Best part of the match. Dude in the audience with a paper bag on his head with a sign that reads "Carlito's embarrassed brother."
Good for that dude. That's quality.
So that was the highlight of the match for me. But there's some
I
other
had fun watching Umaga throw dudes around, but otherwise this was not spectacular for me.
yeah. So like the only other highlight for the match for me was there's a point where all three of the guys are knocked down and the ref is counting like there's gonna be out, but because it's a triple threat, it's not a way you can win the match. So
Right.
like
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
so
Yeah.
like Jim Ross is also recognizes this and he's like Jim Ross says the ref is counting. I don't know why. It was great. I loved that. It was like, the second highlight of the match where I was laughing because I thought like, because I was thinking the exact same thing. Like, why is the ref counting? It doesn't make any sense right now. And then Jim Ross said it, and I was like, all right, Jim Ross, you're on. Glad you're on the pay per view. Um,
um, I'm
Umaga.
going to see, by the way, I bought tickets. I do a thing. I try to go to at least once a year. I try to go to a wrestling show that's like out of my way. Last year I went to see Maryland Championship Wrestling, and I only do it in places where I can visit friends because otherwise it's sad. And this year my choice is I'm going to see WrestlePalooza in Minneapolis next month, and I just bought tickets sight unseen. I have a friend who lives in Minneapolis. I thought it would be cool. He's never seen wrestling before. I heard good things about WrestlePalooza, and like they keep announcing new wrestlers, and like each new announcement, I'm like, what the fuck did I do? And one of the most recent ones is you guessed it, Mr. Kennedy himself, Ken Anderson.
All right.
Finally get to see Ken Anderson live and in person. What a dream come true. Um, so anyway, that's that match. Umaga retains with very little difficulty.
Umaga retains, but every time he does a move in the match that's not like just tossing dudes around, it's a Samoan move. So he does a Samoan
Right.
drop, and he wins with a Samoan spike, and that's
That's
like
right.
basically all the moves he does. But you know,
It's fun though. Um, From there, we go to the third match, which is announced by Lillian Garcia as Rey Mysterio versus Chavo Guerrero. And no, it's not 1982.
I have a note about that too. I said, my thing was Vince refuses to let these guys use Junior in their name, so I can't tell if I'm watching a classic match or I'm watching a match from 2007.
Yeah, Rey Mysterio versus Chavo Guerrero in 2007 would be a very sad match indeed.
Um,
This is Rey Mysterio Jr. versus Chavo Guerrero Jr., but as you may or may not know, Vince McMahon hated being called Junior. His father was also Vince McMahon, but his father was VJM and Vince is VKM, but everyone just calls him Vince Jr. He hates it, and so he has refused to allow wrestlers, anyone, to be called Junior in his company. So Rey Mysterio Jr. and Chavo Guerrero Jr. It's just Rey Mysterio versus Chavo Guerrero. The pettiness of Vince McMahon is incredible.
in my notes, I marked the match as Chavo Guerrero Jr. versus Rey Mysterio Jr. Take that, Vince McMahon.
In my notes, I wrote in all caps, "No one is allowed to be Junior."
Yeah, I have that. Um,
Uh, so the story here is that Ray is coming back for a match. This is actually the same story as the Booker T Triple H match,
yeah,
but
okay. I have a note on this later on in the Booker T match, but like the thing with this is like it's the exact same story, and they're both coming back from some traumatic leg injury, but there's a package hyping them about coming back, fighting back as warriors from their horrible, possibly career-ending injuries or whatever. And the thing when you do that is that you've basically given away the match. There's no way
right,
that the person who's coming back from after this hype package of being like horribly injured is gonna lose. So like they did it twice too in the same show where like okay, well I guess this match is a throwaway because there's no way Rey Mysterio is gonna lose this match. There's no way Triple H is gonna lose that match. Just because of all the way they set up like, oh, they're coming back from these terrible injuries better and stronger or whatever. Um, so there's no way to there's no way to go into this match expecting Chavo to win.
no, and he doesn't. The only real notes I made is that Ray comes out and he for some reason he's painted silver.
That I have that in almost those exact words written in my note. I wrote Rey Mysterio's painted silver for some reason. They
And
never explain that. Well,
they never do, but as the match goes, like if you just kind of miss, like I was kind of half paying attention, and then I kind of started watching like 2 minutes in, all the sweat, and like it made it look like he was covered in baking powder.
it did.
And
Like
then by the end of the match, like only a little bit was left on his face, and it looked like he was a paint huffer.
yeah, it was like when I was watching it too. When he came out, I didn't notice he was pointed silver because the entrance is dark and there's a bunch of lights and
Yeah,
stuff, and I was just like, oh, okay, Rey Mysterio is coming out. And then when they turned on the lights and he's wrestling, I was like, is he painted silver or is that like some kind of bodysuit he's wearing, and then like obviously it gets closer and you realize he's painted silver. What the hell?
Right.
And yeah, and then it like it slowly came off as the match happened. So he just basically became Paint Huffer Mysterio or whatever.
Yeah, it's disconcerting.
Yeah, it was like, or, if I don't know if you saw Fury Road, the latest Mad Max movie, but there's a
Oh yeah,
thing
yeah.
where like they spray the spray paint on their faces before they go out into battle.
Yeah, that's kind of what this
It's
is.
kind of how it ends up. He's basically one of those dudes from Fury Road.
It's a super old school match too. Like this is not a fast-paced match. This is like a match where the whole story is Ray's knee and Chavo working Ray's knee and Ray trying to go for the 619, but his knee gives out a couple times, and it's weird because it is a very it's like a 1980 it is like a 1982 style match, despite the fact that it's Ray Mysterio Jr. and Chavo Guerrero Jr.
Yeah, it. I didn't think this was a bad match though. There were a few like kind of cool spots that happened in the match, like like some kind of back and forth between them that was pretty cool. But it wasn't the match you'd expect it to be.
No, it was not. It was not like a high flying, fast paced.
Yeah,
Holy
so it
cow!
wasn't. I mean, it was a good match, but it was
Yeah.
not. It wasn't exciting like you'd expect it to be. You expect that these guys to be all over the place, but they weren't. They were. It was a. I mean, it was a solid kind of old school style wrestling match with some kind of lucha stuff thrown in.
Ray kicks out of a gory bomb at the end too. I love a gory bomb. You don't see it very often, but I love that move.
That's true. And they mentioned on the commentary like JBL I think is commentating this is saying like it's rare that you see someone kick out of a gory bomb.
Yeah, it's great.
Great.
Um, so that match is over, and then we get an interview with King Booker. Uh, and I mean, I knew about the King Booker gimmick, but I hadn't seen much of it. The way he talks, like, and I don't know what this is, but it reminded me a lot of Broken Matt Hardy.
Broken Booker T.
Like he was trying to talk in a pseudo Shakespearean voice, but it wasn't coming across well at all, and it was just this really weird. And I thought to myself, like, this is like a proto Broken Matt Hardy. This is incredible. They should have let him run with that.
Yeah, I mean, it was good. I liked the Broken Booker T King Booker thing. It was it was goofy, and you knew he had no chance of winning, but it was entertaining at least.
Yeah, and then we go right into the Divas Battle Royal.
I have very few notes in this match. I have two lines of notes. Jerry Lawler is the only person enjoying this match. Beth Phoenix
Literally
wins. That's
the
it.
only the only note I have, literally the only note is it is what it is.
It's terrible. Um, I don't think there's a single wrestling move that happens in this match. I There might have been, but I can't remember any. And like I didn't recognize half the people in it.
No, I think none of them except Mickey James are with the company anymore. Um, and it's a mess. It wasn't like an Attitude Era style like cat fight, but it was very little. I mean, battles royal are bad anyway, but this is like I don't know, maybe one or two people knew how to work a match, and the whole thing was just a disaster.
Yeah, because
And
I mean, even if they could have done moves, like there's 10 people in the ring. What are you
yeah,
gonna do with
that's
that?
the problem with every battle royal. It's always hard to have like the ring is just clogged with people until the end. Um,
So yeah, Jerry Lawler was really excited about this on commentary, but he is the only person.
he's yeah, he's the only person. And from there we move on to it's not a match. It's like a Matt Hardy and MVP. I guess the story at this point was they were having a series of different competitions that weren't wrestling matches.
Yeah, to determine their who is better or whatever. I this this was dumb. MVP came out, and I'm surprised that he's a champion and he's setting up beer drinking contest with Matt Hardy. Um, MVP is pretty much awful. I mean, I I don't understand. I didn't like him in TNA, and I don't like him in WWE.
Yeah, he's not one of my favorites. And so they're gonna have a beer drinking contest, and one of the things I liked about this segment was that it drove home how surprising the broken Matt Hardy angle was, because Matt Hardy in this is boring.
Yeah, I was thinking that too. Like, I was thinking like I have a note that Matt Hardy comes out and cuts this bland "I'm the common man" promo, where like
Yes.
he's like, yeah, you're a common man because you're just a boring dude that no one wants to talk to. That's what I was thinking like when watching his promo. And
At one point, he says, and I wrote this down. He quotes. He says, "I'm a normal guy, man, and I'm proud of that fact."
yep, that's that's a pretty accurate impression of Matt Hardy in this promo too. It's about the energy level.
Yeah, the broken thing has been going on long enough that it's sort of like it's like sort of retroactively cast this positive shadow on Matt Hardy, and then looking at that, now I remember why at the time the broken thing was starting, we were like, I can't believe I'm into Matt Hardy.
Exactly, because Matt Hardy has always been this dude to me, like the dude in this promo. And I mean, I don't know what happened in the storyline here because I didn't go back and watch the Raws before this, but like apparently there was a point where MVP had a subbed in like Evander Holyfield or something as for a boxing
For a
contest.
boxing match, yeah.
And so Matt Hardy comes out and they're going to have their beer drinking contest. And Matt Hardy is like, I'm pretty sure I could outdrink you, but I'm going to have a pro sub for me. And, you know, they're hyping it up like, who could it be? Who is WWE's most famous beer drinker? And then, of course, everybody knows it's Steve Austin. And
The crowd is super excited.
yeah, this was the most excited the crowd was for the like up until this point. There was nobody. There was no excitement for like there was when Steve Austin came out to do nothing.
I mean, they are so amped because as soon as Matt Hardy starts, he's like, "I'm gonna have a substitute." Everyone knows, they're like, people are going nuts, and sure enough, you hear the broken glass. Steve Austin comes out, and you know what's gonna happen.
Yeah, I mean, there, without us saying what happened, you already know what happened. I mean, it's the standard Steve Austin thing. They both get beers in their hands. They're gonna go drink, and then there's a stunner, and then
Let me tell you, folks, if you ever find yourself in a fight with Steve Austin, don't take the beer.
yeah, don't take the beer because you're just gonna get kicked in the stomach and stunned. That's how things work.
Yeah, and the only other note I made on this is that Michael Cole, as when Steve Austin is walking down the ramp, Michael Cole yells, "The greatest beer drinker of them all!"
Yes.
I,
um,
I don't know. Maybe? I don't know. I've never thought about that question, actually. Now, I guess I can't gainsay it, but
I
it's a
guess
funny thing to yell.
I was when they were first saying it, I was imagining like he was just gonna call it the Big Show because like
Yeah, right, yeah, because it'd be hard to win a drinking contest against that guy just based on sheer size.
yeah, I was thinking like, well, Andre is dead. Who would they bring out? Like if it were Andre the Giant, like he would destroy those guys in a drinking contest.
And then there's, after that, so MVP is done and everything, and then there's, all I've written in my notes is some kind of backstage hip-hop dancing skit.
Yeah, that was a thing. I don't know what it was.
I don't know what it was either, but there was some kind of backstage hip hop dancing, like comedy hip hop dancing. I can't believe Jonathan Coachman now works for ESPN, but he does. And then we go into the hype package for the ECW match, which is a title match between CM Punk and John Morrison. And I like intellectually I knew this, but I had forgotten that John Morrison's gimmick is that he is Jim Morrison.
Yeah, he's basically wrestling Jim Morrison.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely not like a kind of like, hey, this guy looks kind. I mean, like, no, your gimmick is that you're Jim Morrison, but we can't call you Jim Morrison because we might get sued. So you're John Morrison, but just it's like he's singing "Light My Fire" practically. Like he is just Jim Morrison, but wrestling.
Yeah, he cuts a promo and it's just like Jim Morrison nonsense speak.
Yes, And like, yeah, and the whole, I mean, like he looks like him, the whole like '60s, but he dresses like
Yeah, I
him.
want to say he really looks like Jim Morrison. Like
He
he
does.
like shockingly so.
It's
Where
like in
go ahead.
Pittsburgh in the '60s when that TV show, when Batman, the TV show, was really popular in Pittsburgh. They had a guy, and he was Batman. He would just dress as Batman. It was Adam West from the show, and he was super over in Pittsburgh. And long after the show went off the air, this guy kept wrestling as Batman. That was what they did with John Morrison. They're like, "You're just Jim Morrison. That's your gimmick." It's so weird.
Yeah, it is like a weird. It's weird for this time in WWE too. Um,
Yeah, 'cause, like, I mean, Jim Morrison at this point has been dead for 36 years when SummerSlam 2007 airs. Like, who are they hoping to like? Man, you know what? The young people in 2007, they love the Doors.
yeah, I guess. Well, okay.
So we're gonna have a guy. He's gonna be like Jim Morrison because all the teeny boppers love Jim Morrison, who died in 1971.
Yeah, it's strange. It's weird. But um, it's not terrible.
No, it's
Like
not. It's not. I
I
want to say. I want to. Yeah.
I want to say
I don't
like
think it works.
it's not bad. Like I thought like you know at least it's interesting. I mean, it was more interesting than anything Matt Hardy was doing.
Yeah. It doesn't work. I think in the way they expected it to work, but it works for me because it's so weird.
Yeah, I mean, it, it it's because he looks so much like Jim Morrison that it's like they he's like a time traveler or something. It doesn't make any sense. It's really weird. Um, and I mean, it doesn't work as like just he's Jim Morrison, but it works as like this is bizarre. And like his promo is weird too, and he's all in, and you can tell that he's all in on this being Jim Morrison thing. So it's like this kind of works. Um,
Yeah. Like if there was an indie faction called the Wrestling Beatles, and it was guys who just looked and acted like the Beatles but wrestled. I hate the Beatles, but I would love that just because it's so weird.
yeah, that's good.
Um, So one thing that's really like the crowd for this match is as dead as the crowd for 205 Live. There is no noise in this crowd. There's a couple of scattered CM Punk chants, and it's funny to hear that when it's appropriate. And a couple of Johnny Homo chants, which is it's 2007, folks. Um,
Yeah, that's
but like
I was thinking that I was just like this match was not hyped, but also like every once in a while you get some CM Punk chants. So I guess like there were CM Punk fans still at this point. Like even before the I mean I wrote in my notes that CM Punk comes out to not Cult of Personality.
yeah, and this is like it's funny to see that because this is before he gets really big and everything. And it also shows you how few people were watching that ECW show on Sci-Fi. Like the crowd does not know who these guys are and they don't care.
Yeah, but all in all, this was a pretty good match actually. I really liked this match.
Yeah, it is a good match. I mean, it's probably in terms of wrestling, it's probably the best match of the night.
Yeah, like up until this point, this was the best match, and I was thinking like, well, considering what's left, this is probably gonna be the best match of the show. Um, but the crowd was not into it. Nobody, they just did not care. Um, and the 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 end was kind of like uh weird. It wasn't strange or anything. It wasn't like a strange thing happened. It was that like John Morrison won with like an assist from the ropes. It's like an '80s win. It doesn't,
Yeah, that's
it's the
right.
kind
Yeah,
of thing where like like you'd expect like the dastardly heel to be winning with the assist from the ropes.
yeah, yeah, and yeah. I mean, it's a pretty old school match. I have to say the commentary, Joey Styles is fine. Taz is dog shit in commentary on this.
Yeah, yeah, that's true.
At one point, I wrote so Taz is talking about what John Morrison's going to do after the match, and he says there's going to be a plethora of women and probably more women. Thank you, Taz. Thank you for that. You
Yes.
couldn't think of anything else. And the other thing, CM Punk wrestles this whole match with a lip ring. I don't know. That's dangerous. I would not do that.
That's a bad idea.
It's about it. It's very Punk though. He's living up to his name. But yeah, this is a good match overall. And I mean, the crowd didn't care. That always takes away from a match. But it's a good match in terms of the wrestling. And you're right. It is kind of funny to see. That's like an AWA finish. The bad guy wins with his feet on the ropes.
Yeah, I just thought like this was a really good match, but it's not like he didn't win with like a like a finisher. He just won by like pinning with his feet on the ropes. Like, okay.
It wouldn't be the only abrupt finish of the night. In fact, in the next match, is we finally get King Booker with Queen Charmel against the returning Triple H. Triple H has been out for 9 months with a torn quad, and it's interesting to me. He's been out for 9 months. This is hyped to the moon. This big hype package, and his pop was not that big. I mean, it was big. People popped for him and everything, but like it wasn't like when Stone Cold came out and the place went nuts. And I think Triple H never worked as well as a babyface as he does as a heel. Like I think he did fine as a babyface, but he was never like as over as a babyface. And two, of all those Attitude Era top guys, he was never like the top guy.
Yeah, well, like this is like in the point in WWE, like after like that period where Triple H was like infinitely the champion and like he just
Yep.
buried everybody. This is slightly after that because he was injured and then like was gone. But like it was the kind of thing where it's just like I think people were not hyped on Triple H at this point. And basically like during that time, this is like for when was that? Like from 2004, 2005,
Yeah, that
2003,
sounds
maybe
right.
it's 2003 to 2005 where Triple H was infinitely the champion or like was the champion multiple times and just buried all of the WCW guys and
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
that was you know part coming back after that you're just kind of like well you kind of ruined the entire program by being this awful champion forever. So yeah, I guess like welcome back.
Welcome back, Trips. Um, and it's kind of a classic WWE heavyweight match. There's a lot of brawling and some power moves. It's nothing special. It's not bad or anything, but it's not great in terms of it's nothing like memorable that I'll go back and watch over and over.
Yeah, I
Uh,
mean I mean considering like everything, I guess this was probably like about what I expected it to be. There wasn't really, this is like towards the end of when Booker T stopped wrestling, isn't it?
yeah, and to me, like for all the hype that they built into it, like Triple H has been out for 9 months, we're gonna rebuild,
Oh
whatever, and
yeah,
like
no, they had the this hype package for the return of Triple H that was like he was the $6 million man. They had like computer
yeah,
animations of them replacing his knee or whatever, and
like
then like
we have the technology kind of thing.
yeah,
Um,
um,
it was worked a lot like a Raw main event.
yeah. It didn't have like a big match feel. And the thing with it is also is that again there was no chance Triple H was going to lose this. There was no
No,
you could not be invested in this match because you already know the outcome beforehand, and you have no way to like really get interested in it because there's no chance that Booker T is going to win. So you just go into this match and it's just like watching until the inevitable finish where Triple H wins.
yeah, and I mean, like I know when you come back, you want to take it easy. You don't want to like have a match where you risk injuring yourself. But this felt the ending felt really abrupt. Like it just felt like kind of a short, like Raw main event, sort of like after all this build up, it's like here's sort of an average match and it ends kind of quickly.
Yeah, that's that's kind of what it was. Uh, Average match that ended kind of quickly.
But I'll tell you what, it was Okada versus Kenny Omega compared to the next match.
Holy Jesus. Ah, this next match, man. All of my enjoyment of this match came from the bizarre hype package beforehand.
Yeah.
And I think Michael Cole refers to the Great Khali as the greatest WWE champion of all time.
This is, by the way, it's Great Khali versus Batista is the next match. And I wrote down in my notes, only question for this match, is this worse than Giant Baba versus Bulldog Bob Brown? You recall uh, in our 9-month experience of watching Wrestle Rock 86, we talked about the epically bad match between Giant Baba and Bulldog Bob Brown. And so that to me, like, this is a similar dynamic where you have, I mean, Batista, I guess, is probably better in some ways than Bulldog Bob Brown, but like, you have a big guy who at this, in Giant Baba's case was too old to do anything, and in Khali's case could never do anything. And so you're like, I mean, is this going to be the worst wrestling match I've seen in a long time? Yeah. Well, Shine, the Sparkle Showcase on Shine last night was dog shit, but in terms of like a big pay-per-view match, this is really bad.
This is awful. And no matter how much they try, they're never going to hype me for the the deadly arsenal of the Great Khali that includes just a head crush.
I,
Like I don't
I, I
I don't know how they thought they were going to get that over as like devastating.
and I wrote down lots and lots of nerve holds.
That's basically the whole match. Anytime the Great Khali did something, it was just like I'm gonna I'm gonna get into like the shoulder massage position and just pretend I'm hurting you.
You want to talk about like you mentioned that John Morrison winning with his feet on the ropes is kind of an '80s style finish. The nerve hold thing is like a '40s style. Like it's so fucking ridiculous to see this on a pay-per-view in 2007. The nerve hold. And what I liked about this match is that after a certain point, the commentary, they just start acknowledging, like, the crowd hates this match.
No,
And at one point,
nobody is
like,
interested in this match.
no one cares. And at one point, Michael Cole says, "Our fans are obviously disappointed." And then he pauses and he says, "With the great Khali's dominance." But like, no, 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 no. And JBL says, "I tell you what, Michael, Khali's style is monkey ugly, but it is effective." So it's like they're, to the extent that they're allowed to in the world of Vince McMahon, they're like, this sucks.
It's terrible.
It's a really bad match.
It's a really bad match, and you go into it thinking like, well, there's no possible way the Great Khali is going to be the champion after this match. But you would be wrong to think that.
Because speaking of Shine, this ends on a finish worthy of Shine. Mercifully, it ends when Great Khali, for some reason, takes a steel chair and uses it and gets disqualified, thus retaining his championship.
Yeah, so Batista wins by disqualification, so he doesn't get the championship. But, you know, it's out of nowhere. It's not like he was in like a really hard position and then like he was like he got knocked down.
Yeah.
I don't really know like, and even on the commentary they're like, I don't understand why the Great Khali would do this. Like yeah, nobody does because it's a stupid finish. Um
Yeah, because Vince was yelling in the referee's earpiece. All right, that's enough. That's enough. That's enough.
yeah.
Tell him to grab a chair.
Yeah, so that's basically what they do. It's a terrible match.
And then
And
Batista gets a chair and wails on Great Khali after the match is over. It just, I mean, it sucks out loud. This is one of the worst matches. Again, like I've definitely seen worse matches, but for like a big championship match and a pay-per-view, this is really bad.
yeah, this is like your almost main event match. And it's
I mean,
for
it
the
would be hard.
championship. I mean,
Terry Funk would have a hard time getting a good match out of the Great Khali, but like Batista is not up to it.
oh my God, no. I mean, Terry Funk would have a hard time getting a good match out of Batista. So
Yeah,
like,
he'd have an easier time with Batista than with the Great Khali is like it's like with Giant Gonzalez or like he just can't. He's just a big dude who can't do anything.
yeah, that's basically it. So the Great Khali is there doing nerve holds. Like every time he did a nerve hold, I was thinking like, if your finisher is just a different nerve hold slightly above where you're doing it, why don't you just do your finisher right from the beginning? Just do the head crush instead of the trapezis hold or whatever you're doing.
Right?
You know,
Yeah,
like,
seriously.
why why bother? Why not just go straight to your finisher? doesn't it's not like you're doing any moves that are softening up his head or something. It's not. That's generally why people don't do. Like Ric Flair does leg holds, so he's softening up your leg for the figure four. He's not. That's why he doesn't do it right away. But like when you're the Great Khali, all of your moves are just grabbing somebody. So just do your finisher first thing and win. How about that? I mean, it's not a good match, but you're not going to have a good match anyway, so you might as well
No.
like go all out right away. So like it,
Well, you really want to go for that. You want to go for that coveted sixth Dave Meltzer star. So that's why the Great Khali worked the pace he did.
yeah, I imagine this is like a 1.5 star match.
Yeah, I can only imagine. I should have gone back and tried to find the Observer rating for it, but anyway, so it's over. It's mercifully over, but we somehow we're out of the frying pan and we're into the fire because we go backstage for more hilarity. We're still on this Vince McMahon paternity thing, and now Mae Young and the Fabulous Moolah are back there, and you know what's going to happen. Mae Young tries to force herself on Vince McMahon, and eventually is pulled off, and she and Moolah are escorted out, and then Vince McMahon decides he kind of liked making out with Mae Young, and he says to Jonathan Coachman, he says, "You know what they say, old chicken makes good soup," and I almost threw up. Like the last thing I want to think about, it's not even a Mae Young thing. It's not even a. I mean, old people can have sex too. That's fine. It's just I don't want any insight into the sexual desires of Vince McMahon. None. Zero. I want none.
Um, wow. Okay. So I'm looking this up. Tried to find the star rating for that last match, and I'm on ProFightDB.com, and they have ratings, but they're not the Observer ratings. They're based on a -5 to +5 rating. So so the rating is like if the match is 0 stars, it's not a good match. It's a bad match. And an average match would be about a 2. But in this case, this match got a -1.5 stars.
Generous.
That's generous.
Generous.
Because I would have given this like a -4
It's
on this
a bad match.
scale. It's a terrible match.
Nobody got hurt, so it's not a complete waste. It's not a complete disaster. But it's bad. It's a bad match. But I'm glad you brought that up because it has distracted me from thinking about Vince McMahon wanting to have sex with old women or anyone. I don't want to think about. If you were to ask me, Tom, who and how much time do you want to devote thinking about Vince McMahon's sexual fantasies? I'd say 0 seconds. No seconds.
It's hard.
None.
It's hard to not think about that though. Every time you watch WWE and realize what's happening, especially during this. The Attitude Era, especially.
Oh, the Attitude Era, it's a nightmare. But we're out of that. We're mercifully away from the backstage for our main event. 9 matches, and I remember when we were looking at this show, we were like, "How? This is like a 3-hour show. How do they stretch it out?" It's because there's fucking backstage segments, lots of backstage segments. But we're at our main event. It's John Cena versus Randy Orton. This is actually pretty early in their rivalry, so it's interesting from that perspective. And as you mentioned before we started taping, the crowd is there's no Cena fatigue yet, not really. Anyway.
Yeah, the Cena fatigue it's not really set in, and when he comes out, there are people booing John Cena when he comes out, and you kind of get why when the even though like he's not currently like 16-time WWE World Champion or whatever. He's the commentary says that this is his third title run, but also they mentioned that he has been the champion for 24 out of the last 27 months. So I can understand why the people were starting to kind of boo John Cena at this point, but like there are a lot of grown men with pro Cena signs, so that's a thing that you don't see nowadays.
No. Now it's only the evolved fans like you and I, like the super smart fans who like John Cena.
And little kids.
Everybody else, all the other grown men who go to shows are they're Cena haters.
It's true.
So this is not a bad match. It's okay. These guys.
This is a pretty good match. I don't know. It's above average for me. I think it's a good match.
It's a good match. I enjoyed it. I definitely, and it helped where it came on the card. Like after the Batista Great Khali thing,
Yeah,
like
I
whenever
mean that could have affected my opinion because after that match, basically anything would have been good.
whenever like I used to this band Fugazi, I used to love seeing them play, and they always had the shittiest openers. I'm sure they didn't think of the openers as shitty. Maybe they did. I don't know. I think I only ever saw them with like one good opener, and it was Unwound. Every other time it would be like some
Tom,
like
you saw them with Shellac.
no, but that's not really an open.
Yeah, I
That was
know.
like a
That's like a
co-headlining show.
co-headlining.
I mean, like on a Fugazi tour, like it would be like some kind of like Northern Italian experimental noise group and like a folk singer. And so when they came out, everyone was like, "Fucking finally!" When I saw them in Holyoke once. The opening act was I swear to God it was somebody just like mashing a synthesizer and a woman doing interpretive dance.
That's I I would if it were any other band, I would not believe that.
It was so bad and pretentious that even Kim Gordon and Thurston Moore from Sonic Youth went out to stand in the lobby and wait for Fugazi to start. The people from Sonic Youth were like, "Fuck this! This is too bad." Um. Anyway, so that was. I mean, I think I liked the match a lot, partly because I had seen a really bad match, but it is a good match. It's not at this point. It's not like a 2015 level John Cena where you're just like, "Holy shit!" But he's a much better wrestler even at this point than anyone gave him credit for. And I'll give Orton credit too. He does really well in this match.
Yeah, I
Um,
mean it's a good match, and Randy Orton still has no charisma, but you know, it's still a good match.
this is the thing I've said about Randy Orton for a while. Like, as soon as he starts wrestling, I like Randy Orton, and then as soon as the wrestling match is over, I forget about Randy Orton. Like, he's a good wrestler, but like, he's just like lacking that extra factor that where you're like, oh man, yeah, that guy. I don't know. Like, he has good matches all the time. He just sort of I don't know what it is. It's weird. Um, but this is a good match. I feel like these guys had a ton of matches, and I'm struggling to think of one where I was like Cena's match with AJ Styles earlier this year. That's like an absolute classic, and I don't know if it's because it never really like the Cena Punk rivalry that would happen later after SummerSlam 2007 was so good because there was like a real personality clash. It's like this is the anti-authoritarian guy, and this is like the ultimate company man, and John Cena is eat your vegetables, and CM Punk is like screw the system. They're both very charismatic performers, and they had such a great rivalry because it was such a built-in story. And I feel like even though Cena and Orton have been rivals for longer, there's never been that personal element where you're like, like Ric Flair and Ricky Steamboat. One of the reasons that was so great, not only because they were great wrestlers, but because Ric Flair was like, I'm the nightclubbing party animal, and Ricky Steamboat is the family man, and like that was a real great clash. And I feel like Orton and Cena, it's more just like two like guys who are at the height of their powers, who are just like expert technicians who are just like, this is the job, let's go do the job.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, there's not really a story here that I'm interested in, and
No, it's a good match, but it's not like you don't get wrapped up in it.
yeah, I mean, even like I'm not saying I'm not interested in the story because I don't know the story because like again the announce team and there's a hype package are like giving you the story beforehand. Like so even if you hadn't been watching, you would know what the story is. It's just not compelling. Um, there's no reason for me to be like invested in either one of these dudes winning beyond that. Like I just like John Cena more.
Hmm.
So I understand where you're coming from. Like, probably if this had a better story, it'd be a more interesting match. In the sense, I mean, it's not. Again, like I quite liked this match. It's probably my second favorite match on the show. In terms of wrestling, it's a good match. But like again, I have almost no reason to care about it.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. So that brings SummerSlam the biggest party of the summer,
Yeah, I
to a conclusion.
you had to say the biggest party of the summer, or
Absolutely.
bad things will happen.
Yeah, Vince will personally come and future endeavor me from the podcast, and then you'll have to podcast with Vince.
That might be all right.
Yeah, he'll just talk about how much he wants to have sex with old ladies. Um, So overall, kind of a C minus. There were some good matches on the card. Like I liked the Rey Mysterio match. I really liked the Punk John Morrison match. I liked the Cena Orton match. I had a lot of fun watching Umaga throw those two goofballs around. But
Yeah,
otherwise,
that's
there were some real dogs.
yeah. What would you say was the okay? What would you say is the second worst match? Because obviously the worst match is an
So
easy choice.
the worst match is Kali Batista. The second worst match for me is the Divas Battle Royal.
Oh yeah, that I guess that's an easy choice too.
But if you exclude those two, I'd say Kane and Finley.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I guess. I was gonna say, okay, the Kane and Finley match. I forgot to mention that Kane does an enziguri in the match, and I thought like, who knew he could do that? Um,
I know.
I
Yeah, it's
that was
yeah.
shocking.
Kane breaking out the Enziguri.
So, I mean, besides punch, kick, clothesline, choke slam, side slam, like what else does Kane do? And then suddenly he's got an enziguri. I'm all shocked. But
I understand why he didn't break it out more often because I imagine that all that weight crashing down does not feel great.
probably not. But you don't expect it. You don't expect to see that from Kane. You expect it from Chris Jericho, who does it in every match. But
Right. Yeah, yeah, exactly. But not from Kane. Yeah, it's fun to see him try something new. He's no big match John, but good for him.
yeah, but yeah, that Divas Battle Royal was pretty awful. But it's a Battle Royal. They're all awful. Uh, so yeah, I mean, guess that makes sense. I guess that's a good one to pick as a terrible match. It gets a little bit of a pass just because it's a Battle Royal though.
Right. Yeah, it's hard to have a good battle royal. Like if the battle royal is not in the Rumble format, the chances are that it's going to be pretty bad, no matter who's in it.
Yeah, but Great Khali versus Batista was straight up garbage from beginning to end.
One of the worst matches I've seen at this level.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I've seen local indie dudes wrestle and have better matches than this.
Yeah, I mean, this it hurt to watch, and it shows you what a weird period they were in because they were still kind of clinging to Attitude Era guys like Triple H, and they hadn't yet established. Like, they were just establishing Cena and Orton as their big stars going forward, so they're sort of stuck in kind of a middle position. And this is also the transition. This is when they really start transitioning to the PG era. Um,
Yeah, with all that
there's
Mae Young kissing and
Yeah, that stuff is going out the door. I mean, that stuff is and it's tamer than it would have been in the Attitude Era when the Divas Battle Royal would have been a stripper match. So that's SummerSlam 2007.
so
Uh,
that leaves us with telling our lovely fans what we'll be watching next time. What are we watching next time? Are we gonna do Mark's suggestion of
yeah, I think we should of the WrestleMania that was in Hartford. Let's find out what WrestleMania that was.
yeah, that was WrestleMania 9 maybe? I don't remember. Let's look that
There's
up.
never going to be another WrestleMania in Hartford, by the way.
That's never gonna happen. That's true. It's
It's
11.
WrestleMania 11. All right, so our next podcast, WrestleMania 11. Everyone, if you want to watch and follow along with us, that's the one to watch. WrestleMania 11,
Oh man.
April 2nd, 1995, 22 years ago.
Oh God. I'm looking at the card for this. Jesus. What have you gotten us? What have you gotten us into? My God, this is gonna be. I can't imagine this being even remotely good.
Oh my God, I'm looking at this too. This is incredible.
Like I'm looking at this, I think there is gonna be zero good matches on this card. Like,
Oh wait, no, Bret Hart versus Bob Backlund might be good.
I think this is. I want to say that this is not a good match.
I'm really excited for this because this has been one of the matches people have told us we have to watch as a good Kevin Nash match.
Oh, okay. Well, we two birds with one stone here. Um,
Kevin Nash versus Shawn
my
Michaels.
yeah, I'm looking at this card, My prediction is that there's going to be two mediocre matches, and the rest are going to be garbage.
There are only 7 matches on the card too.
Yeah. But looking at the people taking part in these matches, good God, this is
And they're short. How long this is? What have you gotten us into, Mark?
seriously. I don't know how I don't, if this is a pay per view that's going to be as long as SummerSlam 2007 was, like about 2.5 hours to 3 hours. I don't know what kind of horrendous garbage is going to be in between these matches, because all of these matches are like really short, and a lot of these matches are awful. Like there's no possible way that the like I haven't seen the matches yet, but looking at the people taking part in the matches, there's no possible way that there's going to be good matches on this show. Like even though there's good wrestlers on the show, they're always paired up with people who are not going to have a good match.
I'm pretty excited.
I see Jim Cornette is in the show though, so maybe that'll be interesting.
Yeah, Jim Cornette and Mr. Fuji accompanying the tag team of Owen Hart and Yokozuna.
Yeah,
Everyone has like 50 people accompanying them to the ring.
yeah. What is up with that? That everybody does have weird people accompanying them to the ring, except like the first match, second match does, third match does, fourth match does, not fifth match does. Oh wait, no, it doesn't. Nobody accompanying, but there's a special guest referee, so it's kind of, you know.
Yeah.
And then the sixth match, everybody has some weird people with that. What the hell? I'm not even gonna ask. I'm sure I'll learn by.
Yeah, it'll be
It'll be
explained.
explained, but just looking at the people in this match, I can't imagine an explanation. And then like the last match, it's like nothing but people accompanying the people to the ring. Like I it's a one-on-one match with like 20 dudes.
I feel so. My only confidence in going into this is that it can't be worse than Wrestle Rock '86, just for the reason that it's not as long.
Yeah, okay. That's fine. I'll go with that, but it'll probably have less matches that are fun to watch.
That's probably true. There were some good matches in Wrestle Rock. Well, yeah, there were good matches with terrible finishes.
Yeah, there were good
It's kind of
there were good matches at least, but nobody on this show is going to put out a good match, with the possible exception of the Bret Hart Bob Backlund match. But I have a feeling that this match is like, it might not be this one, but I know there's a point where Bret Hart wrestles Bob Backlund, and he's crazy Bob Backlund, and
Oh yeah.
he just gets beat. Like, might not be this match though.
I'll happily eat crow if that Kevin Nash Shawn Michaels match is good, but I don't know. We'll
I
see.
have little faith in that actually happening.
So that's our next that'll be our next project. Next episode will be WrestleMania 11 from Hartford, Connecticut, not far from where Joe and I grew up. And where I still live, because I didn't really make much of my life.
That is not true.
It's true. If you want to follow us on the internet, Twitter's a good way. I'm at TJ Breen. I was talking all kinds of shit about the Shine Show last night. So if you're following me on Twitter, you got to participate in
We're gonna
that.
be angry women wrestlers on Twitter, DMing you. It's gonna be.
There was some backstage drama. Malia Hosaka quit the show because she didn't like the finish of her match and was Facebook living her video about it. It was amazing.
Really?
Um,
Wow.
Yeah, it was incredible. Like if you ever quit a job and you're mad, go on Facebook Live because it's a thrill.
That's awesome.
She didn't want to get pinned. How stupid is that?
Yeah. Wow. Okay.
It's fucking. It's wrestling. It's not real.
Also,
It's okay to
she's
take a
like
pin.
almost 50, right? I mean,
She's 48 years old and is still like politicking backstage about not wanting to put people over.
okay. Well, all right.
There's more detail on that. And I post a link to the video on the blog, which is closetofanxiety.tumblr.com. On Twitter, I'm at TJ Breen. Joe is hockeygenjoe.tumblr.com or at xcornmuffinx. But the best way to get in touch with us about this podcast is to leave a comment in the comment section, because we'll respond.
We won't necessarily respond, but we'll see it.
We'll see
So
it.
if you have
And
suggestions, feel free to throw them in there, because as you have noticed by this episode and by the next episode, they're totally based on suggestions. Even though
we take your suggestions seriously, we will watch whatever you suggest if we are able to get it. And if you don't suggest things, we're going to watch Juggalo Championship Wrestling. So keep that in mind.
Keep that in mind. We might, unless you're like horrible sadists and you want to force me and Tom to watch Juggalo Championship Wrestling for some reason, you're an asshole.
Yeah, think
Think
us.
about that. You're an asshole if you do that. But it might be entertaining. I don't know. I mean, the show will not be entertaining, but maybe our commentary on it will be. You never know.
It might. Yeah, because I feel like at that point we really start getting into things that will be worse than Wrestle Rock 86.
Yeah, I'm positive we will, especially when you get into those XPW DVDs you have.
Yeah, the XPW is really going to be. I was watching some XPW stuff on YouTube because I'm a glutton for punishment. Man, it's so shitty. It's really hard, I think, for people to understand how bad wrestling can be. You know, if you're used to WWE, people complain about WWE all the time, but there's a very consistent level of basic quality and competence. Like at worst, it's boring and kind of insulting to your intelligence. It's not something you feel like you should call the police about. XPW, you're so mad. You feel like I want to build a time machine and go back in time to stop this.
You can't. You can't do it, Tom. Stopping it would cause a horrible ripple effect throughout the entire timeline.
That's right. We might end up with some crazy person as president. Can you imagine how terrible that would be?
President Rob Black.
That would be worse than our current president. I'll give you that.
See?
President Rob Black would be worse.
See, the whole
really anyone involved in XPW would be worse.
See,
Pogo the Clown worse. So anyway, that's how you can find us on the internet, on theinternet.com. Hope you like the show. Hope you enjoy. Hope you had some laughs. And if you watched SummerSlam 2007, I hope you fast forwarded through the Great Khali Batista match.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I got no words. I'm done.
Yeah. Thanks for listening, everyone. We will talk to you guys next time.
See you guys next time.